Okay, so the first video you watched on needs statements was about just what are the general parts of a needs statement and what you should include in that statement. Like I said before, a lot of what you need to write is justification or proof of your need and or of your capacity. So we're going to talk about in this lecture data and statistics, how to use them and where to find some publicly available data that you can access without generating it yourself. So following up on the tail end of the definition of what a needs statement is that there are statistics and trends regarding the community-based issue that are gathered from local, state, or even federal resources. And it's important that you always clarify or define where you got those statistics from, so that whoever's reading your grant and deciding whether you get money or not understands the statistics and they're credible. All right, so the Center for Nonprofit Excellence has some really good information on writing grants. Now, it is more focused on nonprofits rather than schools, but the information is really good. So they say that the role of data and statistics are supporting, rely on context, and objective. So supporting just means that you have to back up the issue that you want to address. So if you're saying this is a problem, you need to have data and statistics to support that assertion. Also, you have to have context. It doesn't matter if the crime rate is one thing in New York City if you're writing a grant for rural Jones County. So you have to have data and statistics that are in context, so you're comparing apples to apples. And it also has to be objective. You're obviously writing this grant proposal because you feel passionately about it or passionately about your grade for the course. But usually you seek grants because you're passionate about an issue and you see an unmet need. So when you're describing that need, you need to provide not only your assertion that you need it, but outside information that justifies and substantiates your claims. Some basic rules: make sure that whatever data you use are timely. So you want to make sure that the data you're quoting is as recent as you can get. Now, I will say that some of the databases I'm going to show you in a minute, there's a little bit of lag time because it takes a long time to gather the data, clean it up, and present it in a way that is usable and accurate. So there's usually about a year lag on national data. You want to make sure that the data you report is unbiased. So you want to make sure that you kind of vet or evaluate who's producing the data that you're using. Unfortunately, on the internet, there are lots of biased sources of information. So we want to know who did the research and who funded the research. And you want to know that not necessarily to report in your needs statement, but you are reporting where you got the research from, and the grant reviewer is going to look at that as well to decide if that is an unbiased source. And which kind of feeds into reliable. Is it considered reputable by others? So I'm going to show you some sources of data, including where you can find publicly available without a subscription or anything like that, U.S. Census Bureau data, Institute of Education and Sciences data, U.S. Department of Ed's Office of Research and Statistics. The U.S. Department of Education also has several what they call technical assistance and dissemination centers that have not only good statistics but good reports and policy statements and things like that. And then our State Department of Education. If you are not in Mississippi, every State Department of Education will have similar data. So right now, if you need to, pause this video and resize your windows so that you can pull up an internet browser window and kind of click through with me as I show you these sites. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the U.S. Census Bureau. So over in your address window in your browser, type www.census.gov. That will pull up a page that looks similar to this. It may ask you to sign up for their listserv. You don't have to. You can just X out of that if that pops up. So on the slide in the video that you're watching of me talking to you, you'll see a screenshot of that. Now, the reason it may look a little different is I hovered my mouse over the data tool and clicked on it. And so if you will look at that menu across the top in the navy blue bar, and it says Topics, Geography, Library, Data. Click on Data, and it will open a sub-menu. And each of these have things that you might be interested in, but I wanted to specifically show you here, if you click on Data, Tools, and Apps, your screen should now look like the slide, unless they've updated the website. In that case, it will look very similar. So there are two things that you can find. If you click on Data, Tools, and Apps, it will bring you to a list of many ways that you can find information here. So there are a couple that I want to show you, but you should feel free to browse around and look at the other things that are available. If you scroll down to, let's see, if you scroll to American Fact Finder, oh, it was the second one. American Fact Finder, they will show you lots of things here. You can get fact sheets on your community, so you can get what is your community's population, median household income, all these kinds of things. So if you search in where it says Community Fact and just type in your city and state and hit go, it will pull up just some information about your city. Now notice that there's 2010 census data. That was the last time that we had a full census. But there's also some 2016 data, 2017, and that kind of thing. So if you click on any of those things, it'll kind of lead you to other data. So I want you to pause right now and click around in that, and then come back and we'll talk about some more things. So pause and take a few minutes to click around in there. It's important to note that you also have national comparisons. So if you want to say Mississippi has a better XYZ than the nation, put it there. We have a worse. My community has better, worse, that kind of thing. It's helpful for those kind of data. So like I said, if you go back to American Fact Finder, so click your back button, and if you click on American Fact Finder, you can also click on Download Center. And if you go to the Download Center, they have much more detailed data. So it'll ask you if you want, I know the data set or table I want to download. I want to find prepackaged data. You probably will want to click on prepackaged data. And then if you're doing that along with me, you can see all kinds of surveys that have been conducted that may be of help to you when you're writing your proposals. So take a little time and look through the kinds of data that are there and see if there may be any that are of interest to you. So pause here, and then we'll come back in just a minute. to this page and clicking around and looking at some of the other tools that are available to you. That's just one. This is one where you have private school data in as well. They have things on some colleges and universities as well. And so there's a lot of good information here that's collected and available to the public. And then after you are done, you can pause this, click around for a little while, and then come back. If you click on See All Resources, you will see a lot of this information broken down. So spend a little bit of time, click pause. A lot of the topics here are going to start being similar to the things that you guys were talking about wanting to learn. Just here in the screenshot, I see STEM, I see discipline. So there's lots of topics that you guys are interested in. So pause and click through some of these data sets and see what you can find. All right, so if you aren't back at this page, go ahead and pause. And the address for you here, let's start all back from this page. And I want you to click on STEM just to show you the kinds of things that are here. So in STEM, you can see that they have several studies that are here. Civil rights data collection, high school longitudinal study, all these kind of things. If you will, oops, I didn't go back to that page. If you will, once you've clicked on STEM, click on data, civil rights data collection. So this screen will come up, and what I want to point out to you is not all of the data here are just going to be Excel tables full of raw data. Sometimes they're going to have different kinds of tools for you to look at. Sometimes they are going to just be data sets. So if you click on detailed data tables, just like the other site we were just at, you could actually enter your school's name, and you can pull up data regarding that area. So the one that I pulled up just gave me their civil rights data collection profile, and so this is where you can get some summary kind of data to use. So like I said, pause. This site has a lot of good information. It also has, if you look over here on the left side, they also have reports and some data analysis tools that are good tools for you to use as well. All right, moving right along. Now, if all these tables and Excel files full of data aren't exactly your cup of tea, then this might be another resource that appeals to you more. So the website for this one is kind of long, but if you'll take a second to type that in, the HTTPS : where it starts. So that website is https://OSEP-IDES-THAT-org/find-center-or-a-center. So once you enter that site, you should see this. Now, this page has all the centers, which is a national center that our U.S. Department of Education Office of Special Education Programs, that's the OSEP in the idea. and the web address. OSEP is the Office of Special Education Programs. These are all the centers and grants that they fund. So this has a few different things. It has some listings of who has a grant in your state, what that grant is for. It also has links to these centers. This page is Find a Center, about things like accessible materials, assessment, behavior, dispute resolution, all these things. So you can click through these. These will not only have data, but they won't have data sets per se like some of the other sites we've looked at, but they'll have reports, they'll have up-to-date research, all those kinds of things that are very helpful. If you look over to the right of your screen where the red box that says in this section, you can find a center, and you can also click to find what they call their discretionary grants. So the federal grants that have been funded, you can find links to those as well. First, so I want you to spend a little bit of time clicking around in this. Click on Find a Center, look at all the different centers they have, and then also click on Find a discretionary grant to see what kinds of things you might find there. All right, the last site we're going to look at is our Mississippi Department of Education website. I hope that you know how to find this website, but just in case, if you don't, you can just type in your address bar www.mde.k12.org. So go ahead and type that address in. And on this page, you'll see over here and right above the colorful page divider, you'll see reports and data. So click on that. That will bring you to a page called Public Reporting. Now, see down here in Resources at the bottom right of your screen, I told you they have a link there to that National Center on Education Statistics. So that will take you to that page we were already looking at. But we also see that they have accountability data, student assessment data, district and school data, and then this reports section is also a nice place for you to look to find some data about different programs that we have going on or different initiatives. So let's click on reports available to you. They have reports on absenteeism, on the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, district and school data. And then if you scroll down, you'll see more. They also have data. Mine's a little slow. I keep thinking that I'm scrolling down and changing the slide. The Superintendent's Annual Report. Now that is a very good report to read if you don't know it, because it just gives some summary information about our state and different schools. Those are some sources of different sources of data and statistics for you. There are lots out there otherwise, but these are very reputable, very reliable, and I would encourage you to use one of these primarily for your statistics, even on things like poverty and populations of schools and things like that. All right, so we've talked about the needs statement over 2 lectures so far. One was like, what kinds of things do you need to put in your needs statement? And this one was about the data and statistics to use to support your need. So what I want you to do, as we're going to start drafting your needs statement now, is to take those sections from the first or the things that you need to make sure to do from the first lecture, and start making an outline, what you think would be a compelling argument for your needs statement. Don't worry about writing sentences just yet, but first start with an outline of all the points you need to make, even if it's you don't know the data, say put data about this here, and just kind of start brainstorming all the things you need. I want you to, with this fresh in your mind of what a good needs statement includes from the first lecture and sources of data from this lecture, I want you to just start writing down what might be your outline of your needs statement and start identifying specific sources or even references to support your identified need. That's the first step in writing your draft needs statement. So just like we talked about in the first one where you're doing a peer review, part of your peer review is going to be centered on the data and statistics that your peers in class use. So you're going to rate on 1 to 5 based on the things that we talked about at the very beginning of this session. So when they do their full draft of their needs assessment, not just their outline, but their full thing, are they the data supporting? Do they rely on context? Are they objective, timely, unbiased, and reliable?